Okay, I think we'll get ourselves started today. There's a few people still dialing in, but that's okay. We will be recording this webinar, migration readiness webinar, as with all the previous sessions as well, and it'll be available on the Migration Hub for you to check in afterwards, or if there's anyone, any of your colleagues, etc., that couldn't get here today at this time. If you wanted to refer them to that, then they can have a look and listen through in a time that suits for them, or you just want to recap on any information that we run through today. So welcome to everybody, and thank you, as I said before, for your time and attention today and this final checkpoint in with you all for readiness for Tranche 3, the largest of our migration tranches thus far, Tranche 1 being done successfully in December last year, Tranche 2 successfully in March this year, and obviously Tranche 3 now coming up for a couple of weekends' time, the end of next week for specifics. So just if you've got any questions today, we've got our usual panel available to address those questions and answer those questions. Hopefully we'll answer a lot of them as we go through, but feel free to post it and in the Q&A, and we will be able to address those questions as we go through, and I'm happy to run with those as we go through if possible, or I'll run through, I think, the content that we have for you today, and then we can make sure we get to all of those questions at the end. But we will just kick on, I think. Matt, thank you to what's our agenda for today. So a single agenda today is to give you this final preparation, if you like, for your Tranche 3 migration of your clients from RAP to Panorama. And also just highlight, again, draw your attention to the support that is available to you and your staff and practices with respect to managing clients through this process up until the migration weekend, through the actual migration weekend itself, and then very importantly, post-migration weekend, where your client accounts will be and your client portfolios will be on BT Panorama. So how we actually manage that going through. So we're just going to run through a few of those preparation tips, if you like, and also those support points, so we can point you to the right places. So we'll just kick forward. There's a quick question there. Can you confirm for overseas clients without an Australian mobile that they can still access their accounts? They can still access their accounts in terms of the ability to log on, but there's certain transactions, for example, that require two-factor authentication that they can't. So they can have access online to view it, but they certainly won't be able to do some of the things that they would otherwise be able to do. Add bank accounts, for example, is one of those things that requires that two-factor authentication. That'll require a paper form or a call into the client relations line. Okay, so we'll just kick off, and then we'll work through some of those questions as a follow-up one there from Laurel. We'll just jump into this for now. So migration transaction freeze period. So this is important to note, and just please note these dates and times for the various portfolio transactions that you'll be looking to do. The top four there are effectively cut-offs, where 8 days for rebalances for model portfolios, term deposit transactions, the buyers and sellers of those, and managed fund transactions. 8 days prior, we're unable to submit that transaction. And that'll have to be done post-migration if it's not done up until that point. And so what we're working through there is effectively 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time this Thursday, so in 2 days' time. So important. That's probably the most pressing one that's coming up on you relatively quickly in the next couple of days. Listed securities transactions obviously give us a little bit more time. So we've got 3 days out, that running through to close of ASX trading on Tuesday, the 18th of May, next Tuesday. Manual cash transactions, you can see there for 4:30 on Wednesday, the 19th of May, 2 days, but any checks, etc., or checks specifically rather, are 3 days with respect to that cutoff. So the 18th of May there at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. For your online cash transactions, that'll be available up until 2 days prior to next Friday, so Wednesday the 19th of May, close of business, unable to submit the transaction. And simply what that means is then it'll need to be done after the migration weekend. So just a heads up on those key dates, and just that forward planning wherever possible. Obviously, emergencies arise, but certainly if you can look anything that you've got in the pipeline to be doing on RAP, please get that done in light of those particular transaction freeze periods. Okay, just move on to the next one. Thanks, Matt. The client list. So how do you actually access the list of your clients that are migrating? So it's available on the RAP desktop homepage under key alerts, and you can see there the migration client list report. You click on that and it'll show your clients listings there, and it'll importantly have the migration date put in there. So where you've got a situation where everyone will be migrating with respect to T3, that'll contain that list of those clients that are due to migrate. Following the weekend, the migration status should be updated to complete. If it's still listed as unscheduled, then that means that there may have been something on the weekend which required that account to be excluded, and you'll be able to chase that through with us and follow that through with us. But that's certainly where you can see your details with respect to your absolute client list and when they're scheduled to go and when they'll be completed. So that's that client list. There's another option available to you as well, which we'll just jump to now, being the client portal. And you can visit the client portal by clicking on the relevant icon there, which we've highlighted on the RAP desktop. And that'll take you through to this screen that you can see in front of you. And effectively, the client portal will be able to, will enable you, to download a favourability assessment. So this is a fee favourability, and this will show client by client the assessment that's been done as to whether they'll retain their existing rate card, depending on which badge or which pricing structure they're on in RAP, or whether they'll move to the BT Open Panorama pricing. And that's client by client. And that is up and running now for this tranche for you to have a look at, and you to understand exactly how those clients will be affected in terms of their fee favourability. Again, broadly speaking, the intent here is that no client will be worse off. They'll either be the same or better off. So if they're better off staying on the rate card that they are overall in terms of total fees, then they will retain that rate card and can continue to retain that rate card going forward on Panorama for that account. If they're better off, so with the Panorama pricing, the new Panorama pricing leads to a better fee outcome in total of total admin fees for them, then they'll be moved to the Panorama pricing going forward. In terms of fee aggregation, just an important point to note for future, for once they're all on Panorama, when you're looking to do fee aggregation for your clients, client groups, and get the benefit of those fee caps for up to 8 related accounts, they do all need to be on the Panorama pricing, the BT Open pricing. So if a client is one of your clients that you're looking to group in with other members of that group is on the historical rate card because it's better off for them individually, then you'd need to weigh up what the total fee benefit would be of including that client in the fee aggregation, because they would then move obviously to the aggregated open pricing. So it's just important to note that in order to fee aggregate, then you need to get advantage and benefit of that. The clients need to be on the BT Open Panorama pricing. Okay, so that's the client portal. So that gives you your fee favourability assessment. So in the lead up, you can understand which clients are going through in tranche 3. You can keep in the loop there in terms of if there's any that have had to drop out of the tranche and for any reason at all, and we'll certainly give you notification of that, but that'll give you early notice of that beyond the migration weekend, which we'll talk about now, and also the fee favourability, so you can understand in terms of which rate card they will be moving on in terms of the retaining or moving to BT Panorama. Okay, so what happens on migration weekend? So again, the lead up, completing those final readiness activities, really important that you cross those, work through the checklist. We'll have a look at that in a moment. That's on the Migration Hub, the website, and make sure that you've got everything covered from your own perspective in terms of being comfortable with the migration and the preparation of your practice and also clients in readiness for that. On 21st of May, RAP will go offline, so that's on the Friday from 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then that will remain offline through to when that comes back up on the Monday as scheduled, at some stage on the Monday, being the 24th of May. Just important just to flag here, this is the largest of our tranches with in terms of the number and volume going through. And so we have asked, and we've put up a few communications out to you all to plan for an outage of the platform on the Monday. So what that means is for Panorama and RAP will not necessarily be available for the full day on the Monday, as we finish off and round off a lot of the back-end programming and system and data changes that's required. So it's not guaranteed that that those platforms won't be available for the whole day on Monday, but we ask you to plan for that, so that any trading, etc., that you need to do, you've done in the lead up to that in the week before, keeping in mind those transaction freezes. So just a heads up on that one. So that's on the weekend. We run through the weekend, the actual migration weekend, and that runs through from, as I said, 6 p.m. on Friday with all the various systems being done. And we have various stage gates, as you can imagine, with a migration of this size complexity along the way to make sure everything remains on track and well aligned. And one of those stage gates, for example, is keeping in mind environmental scanning, what's happening in world investment markets, etc. So we're taking the whole picture into account to make sure that, as we've just done, for example, most recently with Tranche 2, that we can do a successful migration from RAP to Panorama. Okay, so the week commencing the 24th of May, Monday the 24th of May, is when the communications start to be received. So assuming that it's all gone to plan and that we have a successful migration, then we'll be sending that communication out to you, and you'll be starting to get that from the Monday. Now, your clients won't receive that confirmation until after you've received that communication. So dealer groups or AFSL holders and advisors and practices will receive that communication first from us. And then further into the week is when the registrations emails will start to go out to your clients for them to register for Panorama with all the details preloaded into that. So it's very straightforward for them to click through, and there's also some easy guides for them in terms of guiding them, walking them through that registration process, so that they can then have access to their Panorama accounts, their newly migrated Panorama accounts. So those communications we stagger out over the course of that week in terms of releasing those out to your clients, so that they're not all getting them, every client getting it on the same time on the same day. So that'll happen commencing from the Tuesday going out. Just a reminder to keep in mind those support materials, which we'll talk about in a moment. Those support materials following migration are really, really important. Some of the information that is provided around some key things that you'll start to do once those Panorama accounts are established. Things like superannuation contributions, employer contributions are being redirected for 12 months. But as they come through, you'll see them, they'll be identified as a redirected contribution coming in. And then certainly we need to get new SG nomination forms or employer choice nomination forms completed with the new Panorama accounts. Similarly with the credits coming in terms of fund transfers, into cash account, they'll be redirected as they come through. But certainly some of the direct debits in terms of money pulling out, you may need to get them re-established with the new account details from a Panorama account. So all of those things are listed on the checklist, and it's very important, I think, to work through those. All of those, we won't go through them all today, but to work through all of those. Similarly with the training materials, etc., which we'll have a look at in a moment. And then, of course, on the 27th of May, we'll be holding our week 1 post-migration Tranche 3 webinar, which is really just an opportunity. It'll be a no agenda webinar, which we held before for T2 with success, opening up for any questions, an opportunity to communicate any key themes, thematics that are relevant for that particular tranche. So some good opportunities there to stay in touch, and we encourage you to attend that one. That runs from 12 to 1, same time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Next key point is very, very important is data feeds. So we've worked at length with various accounting and financial planning software providers with respect to that, and making sure that the work has been done in the back end with them to understand the migration and for them to be in a position to facilitate that migration from an account perspective, account by account, and data feed level. So obviously with Xplan being one of the largest or the largest in the market, I'll just use that one as an example, but certainly the expectation or the previous experience has been that data feeds have flown well. They're mapped in the back end from account to account, and they'll flow through into your particular versions of Xplan in terms of with your overnight data feeds within the first week of migration. So it takes them time. For example, it takes Iris time, or VisorLogic, or whoever it might be, time to release that information out over the course of the week. But we've had no issues with previous tranches in terms of the actual fundamental function working. And then, as I said, it depends on where they have your particular account slotted in the queue in terms of getting that through and down overnight into your particular versions of Xplan or what it may be, BGL, etc., etc. So your particular software provider will communicate updates via their standard communication methods. So how they engage with you now, they'll communicate when the data feed migration has been completed from their perspective. And if there are any issues in terms of it from BT to them, then we'll manage that obviously with them. And that'll all be fixed in the back end on your behalf. And then they'll communicate when it all flows through. So just remember, keep in mind that there will be that temporary pause on your RAP and Pano data feeds, Panorama data feeds, whilst they're completing their activities in their back-end systems and then releasing that through to you. But yeah, in the previous experience with Tranche 2 in particular, that came out over a series of days in that first week, post-migration weekend. So that's with data feeds, important point. Okay, next one. We talked a bit about this, and this is the migration checklist. So I really do encourage you to go into the website. It's in the documents and downloads section on bt.com.au panorama migration. Go in and download this. It's a live doc, so it has live links. So for example, we talked before about the updating employees with the new Panorama Super account details. You can click on the link there and it'll take you straight through to that form. So you don't have to go searching for something that's required. If it's required, we've built the hot link in for that, so you can do that. Definitely have a look through that. If you haven't worked on that or looked at that one at this point in time, not too late. Download it, have a look through it, tick off the items to make sure that you're ready with your particular practice nuances and processes. And then also post-migration, really, really important. So in that first week, which is the last week of May, pretty much, allow ample time in the diary. Has been historically what other practices have given us that feedback has worked well for them. So they've cleared out their reviews for that particular week, certainly for the first few days at least, made sure all of their team are on board and available to do some of their own spot checking of data to make sure that everything's flowed through as it should, and to help the clients with communications, to help client queries that are coming in, and to make sure that everything has been set up in terms of your permissions, hierarchy and structures, the support team, that paraplanners, that advisors, everyone's got access to the right information. The way you've set it up is the way that's flowed through. So important to have that time in those first few days in particular of the post-migration week has been the advice to us from practices that have successfully migrated their clients to date. Really important, there's also some communication templates, email templates that we've provided on the Panorama migration website, which gives you samples which you can use to communicate out to your clients, just to give them a heads up. So once you get the heads up that on the Monday, for example, that migration's been successful, you may wish to email that out to your clients just to say that you've been notified that it's been successful and that they can expect to receive their Panorama registration email within the next few days, just to give them the heads up with respect to that. That's been a proven positive strategy for a number of firms in terms of just keeping their clients ahead of the curve, if you like, in terms of the communications when it comes through from BT as part of the migration, post-migration communications. They're already aware of that because you've communicated with them and they're expecting that to come through. I've also found from previous experience, a lot of clients obviously very busy and don't action their registrations or look at a lot of this stuff until the weekend, that first weekend post migration, because life's just busy during the week doing all the BAU things that we do in our individual lives. So again, some of those questions could flow through from clients the following week for you once they've had a chance to have a look at all the communication and digest that over the weekend immediately following the migration weekend. So that's been an experience that we've seen in previous tranches. Working through this checklist, again, really important, as I said, probably the key things that we suggest that you work through in this is to make sure that all the details are updated with those relevant third parties. Another example, for example, where you may have a enduring rollover coming out of a regular premium payment coming out of your wrap super going to your new to your insurance provider. Let's just make sure that that's all re-established and set up so that you get continuity through that. So it talks through a number of those particular items. It flags information, conversations to have with clients. That, there will be two documents or two statements rather for clients in this migration year as we round out the wrap reporting, and then obviously for the panorama reporting through to the end of financial year. So again, that may be something you wish to communicate either on bulk to clients or do it through a process of individual on review type communications with your clients as well. And the panorama training resources, really critical that we have, that you make sure that you utilise all of those. They are really well received. They're been well structured. They've been well recognised, and in fact, a lot of the BT Academy, I've noticed today, is it's been nominated for a Digital Marketing Excellence Award. So, in terms of the way that information is communicated and the very specific focused training videos available to you. Again, you can do that in the lead up. You can do it post as a refresher. You can do it as a group with people, relevant parties in your practice, or individually, depending on how you want to go about doing that. So that's probably the key things that we would suggest in terms of readiness. You've covered off. So you've got your client list, just to recap. You've looked at the client portal. You know the fee favourability. You've worked your way through, you understand what's going to happen through that weekend. The transaction freeze date's really important. You're well prepared for that. You've got yourself set up. If there's a possible outage in terms of the Monday, so that the wrap and panorama desktops and user interfaces don't come back online immediately at sort of first thing in the morning, you understand that that's going to be the case and you're prepared for that. So again, it's just a bit of prep work leading into that, and then being ready for that first week where the data feeds will flow through. If there is any issue at all with data feeds, we'll tell you. So if you don't hear from us, then you know that that's gone through okay, and we'll be working with your data feed providers. But yeah, it might not be there the very next day because it might not flow through from them to you in your particular account for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days, depending on how that flows through. But data feed's really, really important. As I said, and then just making sure that that you cover off that checklist and start the post-migration process of settling the client account, if you like, into Panorama, and taking advantage of the many benefits there around the digital consent, the advice pieces, SMAs, managed accounts, etc., with respect to Panorama, and how that can be utilised with your particular clients on review. Okay, so that's our readiness. I think if we move on to the next one, it's really just what support's actually available to you. So I'll just highlight that support for you. The key, just jump into the next one if we can. The key way that we're supporting you is through these following methods. So these briefing sessions, really, really important. Thank you for your attendance today in these. I think certainly the feedback that we've received from other people previously that have attended these help us to shape these and refine them each time. to make sure we're hitting the mark in terms of the information that we're giving. But certainly these briefing sessions, and then as part of that, as we said, with the BT Academy training, the on-demand modular courses, all of the support collateral on BT for BT Panorama. And that includes, for some of you who haven't used Panorama before, and this is your transition from RAP to Panorama, then, you know, how did I do it on RAP? And then how do I then do that same thing on Panorama? There are actual courses which and videos which show you how to actually do that. So it is quite practical and specific. What does my client see? What, you know, I don't know what they're going to look at. What are they going to be seeing? We can show you some screenshots and help you, guide you how they're going to see that. So work through those sorts of opportunities to get in there and have a look and really take up those tips and hints for a much better and more efficient experience for yourself and to understand the functionality if you haven't used Panorama to this point. Briefing sessions, as I said, so tap into this, obviously this one you have, and remember the Thursday, same time following migration. So encourage you to log in for that one, because we'll be running that on Thursday, 25th, I think that was, for March. Correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely the Thursday following that. So that's really important. As I said, the digital hub is the absolute center source of all information. It has an array of FAQs on there, so answer all your questions, those that we don't get to today. Hopefully we'll get to them all. We intend to. And so detailed FAQs on there. It has support material. It has a link through to the investor migration website as well, so you can have a look at that, or you could shoot that link through to some of your clients that have more questions, some of the more detail-oriented, detailed-focused questions, questioning clients. So it takes some of that heavy lifting off of you in terms of the generic, what is BT Panorama, what is this going to mean for my account, what does it look like? So a wealth of information there, and anything that's new and changing, any new information, it is a live site. It goes right on the front page in terms of what's new, so you can keep abreast of any developments and changes with respect to that. Panorama training journeys we've talked about, and tie that in with BT Academy. The detailed FAQs we've talked about. Online chat and guides, really, really important. So we have our chatbot Blue, called Blue, that is available on Panorama, and it helps to communicate through and run with, you know, consistent and 24/7 compliant responses to queries that you may have or your clients are going to have. There's also guided journeys through a Walk Me functionality, which basically click on the Show Me How button in the bottom right-hand corner of BT Panorama, gives you real on-time instructions for various how-to processes. So there's a lot of online, on-demand support to address those questions for you in your practices, but also for your clients as well. And one of the practices that ran in the pilot migration, a piece of their feedback which was really positive and well received by a number in the second tranche, was anything that's kind of registration related, questions that are registration related or Pano operational related, they diverted those and refocused, repointed their clients to BT for the call centres to address those queries. But anything that was more specific advice and how that impacted, they handled that section of questions. So that could be a way that you engage with your clients, or choose to engage with your clients. And finally, but most importantly, call our team. So your BDMs, if you've got BDMs on hand, your usual BT contacts, the client relations team, all geared up, trained up, and ready to go with respect to migration. We've been living migration and breathing it for a number of years now, and particularly intensely in the last 18 months from a client-facing or advisor-facing perspective, frontline teams. So all of our distribution teams and client relation teams are all skilled up, trained up, and can address any of those queries that you come through with. So please utilise us. We're the largest resource business, and we exist singularly and solely to help you and your clients with your business. So that's what we're here for. Please utilise us as part of that support through this migration from RAP, some 20-odd-year-old successful platform architecture, to Panorama based on the Avaloq architecture, and really does future-proof and helps us to engage and make available to you some of those future-proofing platform necessities which are going to create efficiencies in your business, such as digital consent, online transacting, online compliance, managed accounts, all those types of things, which simply wouldn't have been available on old architecture, certainly is available now. So moving all of your clients onto that. Okay, so lots of support available. I think that's about half an hour I wanted to run through that. We'll open it up now and we'll work our way through the questions. And I'm joined today by Gary Burford and Jason Brown, both of which should be familiar to many of you who have engaged through migration over the past few months. And so we'll run our way through these, and anything that we can't get to or answer today, we'll take on note and we'll come back to you as we have done in the past with quite specific answers. We'll either give you a call or an email to you specifically as we work through those. So Laurel, we talked about the overseas clients with the mobile. Next question, if account information was not requested by BT, like client email mobile for a trust account, can we add this to the tranche spreadsheet uplift to be uploaded rather than BT chasing the clients now for this information? Yeah, we have been running a series of data uplift spreadsheets being sent out to all advisors and practices, and we've got that data now uploaded. But if you've got additional data you want to get through to us, absolutely shoot that through, and we'll endeavour to make sure that those updates are made wherever possible. Yes, there will be a recording of this event. That'll be some of these questions I may have answered throughout, so I'll skip through. But it is available on the hub. So visit that migration hub there at the address down the bottom of the screen that you can see now. Does the freeze apply only to accounts being transitioned? So Gary, do you want to explain that question a little bit there, just for Sonia, as to how the freeze periods apply?
Yes, it is only to accounts being transitioned. So that's why that spreadsheet that Tim showed you, showing which clients are allocated to each tranche, is quite important. So you can have a look at that, see if your client is in tranche 3, and then plan accordingly for those freeze periods.
Great, thank you. Yeah, absolutely trying to minimise that impost wherever doesn't need to be an impost with a migration of this type. And yeah, that's one of those situations where we have been able just to restrict that to those accounts that are moving. Henry's just asked a question, not sure if you asked this already, when will I be able to transact again? You'll absolutely be able to transact. I'm assuming that means post-migration, Henry, that's a question. As soon as you're up and running, so as soon as, so if it's day one after that outage, or if we do take that full day one in terms of Monday, then it'll be to Tuesday, but it'll come back online and you'll have full access into the account, and you'll be able to transact on that particular account straight away. I have a client that makes payments by checks from a working cash account on Wrap. What are her options on Panorama? Good question, Karen. Interestingly, the use of checks has declined significantly, and there's a dearth of material around that, with Reserve Bank putting out material on that. But there are always clients that use checks. My mum's one of those people that still likes to use their check and checkbook, and she's been doing it for many years, and she's not giving it up. You can actually link an external one of your 5 external linked accounts, bank accounts. One option that a firm did in a previous migration tranche was that they linked a checking account through with a normal branch bank account that had a checkbook facilitator, and they were able to move funds quite readily between the working cash account and that account to facilitate the writing of checks. So that's the best solution that we've seen in terms of practicality of working with that. Melissa, which fees were included in the fee favourability calculation? We've noticed clients in Insignia, which should be same pricing as Panorama Open, but the fee calculation was showing Panorama Open as being about $300 more expensive. Really good question. And Insignia, for those of you that are in Insignia, you'll know that is effectively the same pricing as the BT Open Wrap when that was launched in 2018. Insignia closely followed as an IFFF badged version of that. You're absolutely right. The difference between their price exactly the same. The $300 is there's a custodial fee involved. So where that doesn't apply on the Open or Insignia, and it would apply on Panorama because that fee is in place for the custodial fee if the client takes up that option, wants to take that option. Of course, Panorama is the only platform in the market with 3 options in terms of custodial HIN, individual HIN, nominee HIN. So you do have choices with respect to that. But that's what that difference, Melissa, would be if they've currently got custodial, they'll retain the insignia pricing, which means therefore they won't be paying that custodial fee when they move across to Pano Open. That's the only difference with respect to that. What is the URL for the advisor portal, please? There we go. We've got that down the bottom there. So bt.com.au/panorama migration. Does the post-migration confirmation the advisor tell them exactly which clients did migrate and any that didn't migrate for any reason? What it will do, yes, absolutely. So you absolutely will be told which clients have migrated and which clients won't. That'll be updated on the on that report in terms of that we showed you before via the desktop. And if there's any reason for the clients not migrating, then that will be available to you as well, and we'll communicate that through to you. We'll have lists available, and you can either proactively call in and we can give you that information, or that'll be we can make that available from an outbound perspective. Registration if they don't have email. Okay, so if they don't have email, so for obviously there are clients on RAP that don't have mobiles and email phones, and emails. Get that around the right way. Got that a bit confused. For those clients that don't have that functionality, then we do have an offline solution where they can certainly register, and that'll be done via mail, via postal. So they'll have that option. They won't have online access because they don't need to have online access because they don't operate that way. But they can certainly, they'll certainly be able to register and operate their accounts through you as they've done on RAP. Okay, next question. Will we receive reports for these redirections? Cheryl, there's no actual report saying, okay, these accounts have been redirected, these payments, etc., redirected, but it's very evident in the working cash account. When you have a look in and you have a look at your cash account statement, it'll be very clear there. It shows that this is a payment redirection, so you'll be able to identify that pretty quickly.
Just quickly on that, Tim, the other thing is that BT will be following up advisors throughout that 12-month period to encourage, in inverted commas, them to update the SGC details. So there will be some follow-up throughout that year period. Can't say exactly when that'll happen, but we will be on to you, don't worry.
Terrific, helping out. Yep, plenty of time to get that organised. Not everything has to be done in 30 days. We know that you guys run your review cycles on a 12-month basis, and we'll be thinking that you'll be working through some of these things on a normal review schedule. Some of you will do them in one hit, but we'll be reminding throughout the year and assisting throughout the year. And of course, access to your to the RAP desktop and the information that's contained in RAP remains there for 12 months post-migration. At this stage, 12 months post-migration, so you'll have access to that information as well. Will power of attorney held be transferred from BT RAP to Panorama? Simple answer there is yes, it will. Of course, to run a overseas client on Panorama, it needs to have a power of attorney in place. If they don't currently have that in place on RAP, then that's fine. They don't need to go and get one immediately. We're maintaining an exemption on that basis, given the difficulties involved, as we know, globally with travel and COVID, etc. So if they've got the current POA, that'll be transferred across. If they haven't got one, then we're not going to change any restrictions on their accounts or anything such as that. There is currently an exemption period. Regarding redirection of contributions for 12 months post-migration, will this be relevant for both employer and member contributions? Yes, that will be relevant for both. So they'll come across, and again, you'll be able to see quite clearly through the reporting how they have been redirected. And as Gary referred to earlier, we'll be reminding along the way to check in to make sure that that those new details are provided to the various sources of those contributions. Will the data feed include original cost base of each investment? So I've had some recent issues with this from Eileen. Gary, do you want to cover that one off in terms of what actually comes across, and just that it doesn't all turn up on day one? So perhaps some of the transaction history information and performance history.
Yeah, so we're working with the data feed providers to make this as seamless as possible. So all of those details should be coming across. So Eileen, it sounds like you've got some experience with this. We have had some cost-based issues with some a couple of clients in prior tranches. We fixed those up. But if you're concerned at all, get in touch with us, either Tim or myself or your BDM, and we can follow up specifically on your scenario just to double check that you're happy that it's all going to come across okay.
Yeah, we can certainly help you out with any of those recent issues that you've had, but absolutely comes across original cost base in the data feed and also through into the UI, the user interface for Pano, the desktop. Jordan just asked about enduring rollovers. Will they be honoured or need to be re-established? It's the enduring roll. It will need to be reset. Is a short answer. So you will need to re-establish those because they're the documents with the external life insurance provider. So whoever that life insurance provider is the one that, and they'll have differing ways in which they go about that. But yes, we've engaged with a number of the majors in that space, and they're fully aware of what's happening in terms of migration. And so it won't be a surprise to them, and they'll be very engaging. Certainly the major ones that we've spoken to will be very helpful in getting them re-established for you. If a client fails to update their employer on the new Panorama details, will BT reject the employer's contribution in a holding account, or will BT reject the contribution and send back to the employer? So I'm guessing, Luke, that's probably referring to sort of the post 12-month period if you haven't done anything from that point in time. And it'll be rejected to the employer, back to the employer after that period of time. But as I said, well and truly after that 12 months of redirects and opportunities for the new information to be provided, as I said, in a bulk task by practice or on review with each client as you go through that 12-month review cycle. One on registration. I'll throw this one to you, Gary, from Laurel. So can we confirm an SMS is not needed for the original client registration process? Previously, we thought that the client would also receive an SMS with a code. So just the registration process as such?
Yeah, so migrated clients follow a slightly different registration process to new clients in Panorama. So there will be a registration link that's sent to the client, and they need to click on that link. And then once they click on that link, that will have everything they need to complete the registration process. So I believe that you can elect, if you want to receive certain confirmation codes via SMS, but it's not a mandatory step for migrated clients.
Yep, excellent. Thank you. And from Charmaine, looking at our migration client list, there are no Pano IDs visible for the T3 client list. Charmaine's looking to get started on the paperwork for clients with enduring rollovers. Just in terms of the time frame, Gary, with those the Panorama IDs becoming visible for tranche 3, just some insight into that.
Yeah, so I missed the question there, but yes, they're going to become visible immediately after the any blackout period or freeze period applies on the Monday. Those IDs will be visible on the Panorama desktop.
Yep. So they're basically constructed, Charmaine, over the weekend, the IDs. So all the back end work is done, but we don't have those IDs available to hand out a list, for example, prior to the migration, because they're constructed as part of the data extract and transfer and load from RAP to Panorama. So apologies that we can't provide that information a bit earlier, but good planning. I like your planning. I like your thinking on that one. Hi team, more of a technical question. Will BT Panorama adopt, technical is always you, Gary, so you got to be prepared for this one. BT Panorama adopt the tax labels on end of financial year tax reports that we've seen on the BT RAP platform?
I'm actually not sure what tax labels Rosario is referring to, so we might have to take that one offline and just double check it.
There's a follow-up one for that as well. So
yeah.
Rosario, we'll take those tax questions. We'll check in with our tax SMEs experts and get back to you. The feedback just they're providing as well is assist the accountants with their end of financial year tax prep. In some instances are charging more to ensure appropriate tax labelling. So we'll follow through exactly what that'll look like in the statements and the how-to guides, which of course are all being prepped, and what they look like on Pano versus Panorama versus what they look like on RAP as well, and with the dual statements. So we'll get a bit of detail to that and get get back in touch with you, Rosario, for those questions. Megan's got an issue. 2 of our staff can't see any of the migrated clients. Do you know of an ETA regarding this issue? So I'm assuming, Megan, that that's referring to tranche 2, clients that already migrated. So There's probably a bit more detail about what type of entity it is, etc. So we might take that one offline, and we'll contact you straight after this webinar and just touch base with you directly on those specific situations as to what the issue might be there. Diane Cooper, hi, we have a client list in T4, tranche 4 migration. How can I find out why they're not included in tranche 3, and is it possible to have them changed to tranche 3? Unfortunately, it's not possible now to move to tranche 3. There's legal requirements about forward notice with regard to the SEN or migration notice, significant event notice. And if they haven't received that for T3 by this time, then we wouldn't be able to move them in T3. The primary focus of tranche 3 was it's a badge structure to the approach to our migration. That is, the various badges of BT are moving in the various tranches, and then within that, if we cascade down to the next level of sorting, there's a strong focus on equities. So those accounts that have direct equities, and that going in T3, and that is because we have certain windows where we can migrate with the ASX. And we want to make sure that that all goes through, and we look at corporate actions, activity, and all those types of things to make sure. So T3 was deemed the best one for those. And also for another filter, if we cascade further, was for some of the more managed funds with monthly distributing timelines. So we look at those managed funds that distribute monthly basis, when that's expected to flow through, and try and avoid those timeframes clashing with a migration timeframe. So some of those as well. So if they're not in those categories, and they set it into one of the badges that is pure managed funds, then that's possibly why they have moved to T4 migration. But yes, that's where they'll be migrated now at this stage of the migration journey. Can we move clients from retain pricing to the new open pricing after migration? Barry, absolutely you can. There is a form to nominate that and a process to nominate that, and that detail is available in part of the FAQ, how you go about that on the Migration Hub. So have a look through that, and you'll be able to do that and nominate that change.
Just that after you do go to open pricing, you can't go back to that old retained pricing again, sort of cancelled on that client account from that point. So yeah, once you go to open, that's it going forward.
It's a one-way ticket.
That's it.
Yeah. So just to keep that in mind, and do when you're weighing that all up, and obviously the benefits for any fee aggregation, etc. with respect to that. Stephanie Coulthard, hi, Mr. I can find the fee benefit report. I think you're talking about the fee favourability. That's on the client portal, which is on the desktop, the RAP desktop. And we might just flick, if we can flick the slides up to the client portal, Matt, you see the little icon that we can, that Stephanie can, we'll just do that as we're answering through the questions. So we'll show you the icon to access the client portal. Okay, if a client has a regular withdrawal coming out of their investment, will that transfer over to the new platform, or do we have to set it up again? Gary, you got that one? Sorry, just before you start, there we go.
Yep.
So Stephanie, you can see the little man in the pink shirt typing away. That's the tile to look for on the RAP desktop. You click on that and it'll take you through to that screen that you can see there. Thanks. Yeah, sorry, Gary, regular.
Yeah, if you're having any trouble finding the portal, just get in touch with us and we can show you where to find that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the regular withdrawal, again, we're trying to carry everything over wherever possible. So if it's a regular withdrawal set up on the RAP system, we'll be taking across on migration. It's worth checking though, because some regular withdrawals are not sort of ad hoc pushed by the advisor each month or quarter or whatever. Those ones that aren't set up as regular withdrawals on the RAP system won't be coming across. So it's worth just double checking that it is still coming across for your client. But if it's set up on the RAP system as a regular withdrawal, yes, we'll be taking across to Panorama.
Excellent, thank you. Melissa's asked, can super choice forms be prepared in bulk for our clients, or do we have to prepare these ourselves? Unfortunately, we don't have bulk preparation in terms of automated super choice form preparation functionality on Panorama. It's one of those things that has been suggested and we're looking at, so it forms part of our continual improvement dashboard in terms of things to look at for ongoing improvement, but we don't have that functionality. So yes, for those clients that do need to fill in those new super choice forms, and they do need to be prepared by yourself with the client and forwarded on. But as we said, you've got 12 months to, you could do that in your regular review cycle if you choose to, or as a individual task. Different practices have approached that differently. Katie Hanson, will the client's tax statements and annual statements be available in one document, or will there be two, one from BT Wrap and one from BT Panorama? Throw that one to you, Gary.
Sure. So just for the migration year, there will be two statements, one for the period they're in Wrap and then another for the period they're in Panorama. So that's on our checklist as an item to watch out for. So yeah,
Excellent.
that's the situation.
Thank you. Courtney's got, if I have a client's account which is in the process of being closed and it's only the cash left to be transferred out, but it says it's scheduled, will this account go over to Panorama? Will it stay in Wrap until the closure is completed? If that's being closed, Courtney, and that's midstream at the moment in flight, then that won't be migrated across. That'll be completed in Wrap and closed out. If you've got any concerns with that particular M number of client, please get in touch again with BT BDM, or you can shoot that through to me, Tim Rogers, or to Gary Burford as well at BT Financial Group. Do we need a new direct debit form for all accounts where payments are made from their BT account? You will need to set up new direct debit. So where we're drawing out, where you're drawing out, the person that will basically need the new account details, the other institution, third party, will need the new account details for the direct debit. Where there's credits coming in, then into the old Wrap account, then we can redirect those and make sure, and we will be. Excuse me. So that's the difference there. Where we're able to, where we can control the flow, we'll redirect it. But in terms of direct debits going out, then that third party will require new direct debit forms with the new account details for them to draw on. I notice the pension accounts are unscheduled on the migration schedule list. When are these likely to happen? There's no restriction on pension accounts as such, Sue, so that may just be for other reasons that they may be unscheduled, as we talked about, depending on their asset composition, or if there's something in particular in-flight transaction with those. But there's no T3 exclusion for pension accounts. There are, in fact, some thousands of accounts going across planned for tranche 3. So if there's any in particular, again, please get directly in touch with us with those specific details through to your BDM or through to client relations on the phones, or through to myself. Happy to put myself in for that one. Is there a data feed through to Centrelink in regards to pension details in line with the March-September reviews? Yes, so all of the data feeds or updating is all happening electronically with Centrelink, with DHS, DVA, Centrelink, etc. That's been a lot of work we've done with them, and they've been keen and really good at engaging with us to manage this from an electronic perspective, so that we don't have, particularly in this COVID environment, we don't have potentially some of our most vulnerable customers having to go out and, in public and around to Centrelink offices and handing over schedules and doing all those sorts of things. So all of that will feed through into the normal sequence of events of update in the back end for Centrelink, and no changes to that, no change to existing grandfathered arrangements, etc. So that all runs through smoothly and seamlessly. Clients with regular investment plans, will these also be redirected for 12 months to new Panorama account? So the regular investment plans, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, are all carried across and established. So there's no work for you to do, Desiree, with respect to that. They'll all be set up for you in the Panorama account. We'll be transitioning a client from accumulation to pension straight after migration. Will they maintain their grandfathered pricing? Yep, so for change of phase, so from super to pension, then they will be, they can maintain their grandfathered pricing for that account. With payers and billers in Panorama linked, will Panorama's linked account access automatically be set up for client and advisor, or will access form need to be completed? So existing linked accounts will be that are set up in Wrap will be transitioned across into Panorama, so there's no need to redo those particular accounts. The payers and billers, not sure. I need to check on that one. I might need to come back to you with respect to that specific next level of detail, Melissa. So we'll take that one on note and come back to you just to confirm. I'm pretty sure that they do, but I just want to confirm that, and we'll come back to you with that. Also, any of these questions where we come back to individuals, somebody else might be saying, oh, that's a good question, I've got that question too. We will update the FAQs on the migration website with new questions and answers from this. The team would be currently busily scribbling these down, making sure that they've got it all ready. That's a bit more technological than that, but I'm old school, still scribble down. Okay, in tranche 2, Louise's question, we had clients who had nominated to have custodial HIN but did not use it. That is, they didn't hold shares in their portfolio. When they were transferred to Pano, they were transferred with a custodial HIN. As they don't hold shares, we've been told these clients won't be charged the $300. Just some clarity around that one, Gary.
Sure, these are really good questions, aren't they? We're going to fly through them. We've only got a few minutes, but
couple of minutes left. Yep.
Yeah. So that was actually an issue with tranche 2 that we rectified. And if they don't have custodial shares for those accounts, yes, they won't be charged the fee.
Excellent. Well done. Oh, I was flicking through to find the others. So you've caught me on the hop now.
Okay.
Okay. Next question. With some of the issues that occurred in tranche 2, have you made sure that these won't occur in tranche 3? Double deduction of direct debits, incorrect HINs, etc. Absolutely, Melissa. So with every tranche we learn, and where we've identified issues, sometimes they're one-off, quite account specific, client specific. Sometimes they're what's more systemic, perhaps, where there's an issue in the way this information's come across. We absolutely learn. So one of our key green light decisions for the next tranche is to make sure we've addressed all of the things that have gone wrong. And things do go wrong in this migration. There's no doubt that things do go wrong or not as planned. But the important thing is that we correct those quickly and efficiently as possible with minimum interruption. And so, yes, that's certainly one of our green light requirements, is that we've fixed all those challenges from tranche 2. So you can take confidence with that. List of badges, got a couple more minutes. We've noticed on the list of badges scheduled to migrate in T3 that the wealth manager badge states equities only. What is the reason for this? And if it's equities only, when the clients on the remaining accounts on wealth manager badge expected to migrate? So that's from Haley. Just to clarify, so those with equities, again, we've put those into tranche 3. That ties in nicely with our work with ASX in the back end and corporate actions and reporting, etc. from that. Anyone who has equities and managed funds, they'll go across as well in T3. But those accounts that just have managed funds, they'll be in tranche 4 for that particular badge.
So it's a month later. Yep.
Clients who have a custodial HIN and don't hold shares, we've been told we may have the option of getting them transferred to Pano with a nominee HIN. Do you know if this is an option? It's absolutely an option to transfer to nominee HIN. Just be very clear on the differences in the way that's what impacts that has in terms of corporate action, nominations and elections and things such as that. But we've got some really good collateral and information, Louise, on that. So you can contact your BDM and they can run through what those differences are, so you can make that decision on a fully informed basis before you just nominate that one. Will existing BT wrap linked transfer, in-house transfers be in place when it moves to Pano? Existing BT wrap linked transfer be in place.
I don't know what that is, Tim.
No,
take it offline.
We'll take that one offline, Jordan. If you want to add any more detail into the Q&A, that'll be good, but we'll get back to you on that one. Oh, there we go. Go down to the next one. i.e. BT pension pay a BT wrap. So if those existing, if the accounts are currently set up and those payment situations are currently set up, then that should be transferred across as per other payment arrangements. There you go. I should have gone to this next question. Thank you, Jordan.
Yep.
How to access the BT Academy training? You can access BT Academy. We'll put the link for the BT Academy training. I'll get that straight to you, Patricia. But if you Google up BT Academy, it'll be on there, or it's certainly on the BT website. And you can also, I think, get to that through the digital hub. But I'll definitely get through Patricia. We'll get the link through to the BT Academy training site. Question now on Centrelink, which we've agreed. That's all being updated. So that's done on your behalf. Question with respect to fee favourability. Current fee on BT open pricing. So again, if it's retained, that means that it's retaining the current pricing. If it's got BT open, then that means that it would be proposed to move to BT open pricing. But again, those can be changed. So if you want to have a conversation on those particular ones, then you need to perhaps just get in touch with your BDM. and have a look at those individual circumstances, so we can be specific in our answers for you. Final one, and then we'll have to, for the remaining ones, we'll have to get them emailed out to you. But for BT Life Central, linked insurance, will that be honoured, or will action by us be needed? No change for BT Life Central, so you still access your information through BT Life Central. There's no change at this stage with respect to that. So you can continue to work through that. Our final one from Angus: clients with stapled securities, will they transfer in this tranche as they were excluded last time? The answer for that one, Gary, is
yes. We're planning on moving them in tranche 3.
there we go. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll call it a stop there, because we'll get everybody out on time. That's a full hour that we've done today. Thank you very much for these questions. These are fabulous. So I think we've got to about 3 or 4 or 5 left. So we'll address those, and any others that we've taken on note have been noted in the background for us, which is fabulous support for Gary and I. Thank you to the team, and we'll wrap it up there. But thank you very much for your participation today. We wish you well with the migration of Tranche 3, and we're looking forward to talking to you on the other side of Tranche 3 on the Thursday, when this has all gone well, and we've got your clients onto Australia's leading contemporary platform, BT Panorama. So thanks again for your time. Gary, thank you very much for your time today in answering those questions, and to everybody else in the background that's supporting today's webinar. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Good on you. Thanks, guys.